So Microsoft are retiring the fundraising and engagement application. What exactly does that mean? And what is the impact going to be potentially to customers who are using that?
Well, fundraising and engagement is an accelerator that was provided by Microsoft. It's been around for a while. It started life as a common data model, so a collection of tables and columns. And then just over the years, it's grown into what it is now. So that includes the common data model, but then also business logic, so workflows and things like that, little components to help interactions with the data for customers, and then integrations with service providers and payment providers. It's always been very big in the US and kind of has taken off in the last couple of years over in the UK. And really, what they're doing is they are pairing it back to the data model. So they're almost going back in time. So that means they are retiring the business logic layer, the service provider layer, or the payment provider layer, and really just coming back. So the data model is not going anywhere. So customers who have the fundraising and engagement solution, it's not going to break overnight. The data is not going to disappear, but certain things are going to be decommissioned and not supported anymore. So quite a lot of customers have elements. Not very many customers use lots of the system, like all of the tables. And really, in terms of impact, it's a bit of a kind of taking stock of what you're using and seeing what that impact is going to be. It doesn't happen until December 2026. So there is time. It's not an emergency or hands on deck. We need to sort something out, but it's definitely things that people need to consider.
So if I am already using the F&E accelerator, what is going to happen come December 2026?
So probably in actual fact, not much. It's not like 0 day and everything burns to the ground. So what Microsoft have said is they are retiring the fundraising and engagement services. So they're the Azure services predominantly, which do the communication between the payment providers and the data within the system. So organizations rely on those to bring transactions and things like that in. So in all honesty, we don't know for sure what will happen, whether they'll flick the switch and turn it off, or whether they will just cease to patch and update those services. So what they've said is they will no longer be supported. That may mean it stays turned on, but if a payment provider changes their API, things may well stop working. You will not be able to get support from Microsoft if you've got any issues. Or, like I say, they could turn it off and that data will stop coming in. The data model will be in your organization still, so your data is not going to disappear. And likewise, any Power Automates, any old processes or anything like that, that's all going to stay within your system. Microsoft aren't going to go in and rip it out. It should be said, though, that Microsoft is still committed to the not-for-profit sector, and they are doing lots of things. There's new first-party apps coming out. They're slimmed down. They've not gone for that business logic layer. They're just keeping to the data model aspect and relying on the partner network like us to really kind of expand that for organization needs. But it's not going anywhere. It's not, Microsoft aren't leaving the not-for-profits behind. It's just a bit of a change of tack of what they're doing.
So how can customers be able to identify what tables they're using within F&E?
So depending on the customer's ability, really what you're looking for is any tables whose schema names are starting with, I think it's MSDYN, or underneath a Microsoft solution. And you can tell that from the Maker portal. And if you've got any data floating around in there, then that's a good indication that you're making use. But ultimately, you want to reach out to your partner or a partner and just get a bit of help in working out what the impact is going to be.
And what could a potential pathway be for customers who are using F&E?
So you can potentially go for brand new system. you could just treat it as okay, we've got X number of years of hindsight under our belts, lessons learned, and actually, do you know what? That bit of F&E didn't really work for me. I would like to change how we approach that. And it's a really good chance to do that. You may want to go with, okay, well, the data model's not going anywhere. And we're using a little bit of that, but ultimately we're using mostly custom tables. We're probably going to be all right just staying put. Or if you are relying heavily on those things that are going to be completely removed, then you may want to start considering other things.
So you've mentioned pathways to help support customers transition from F&E to another supplier or another system. Evo 365, our not-for-profit accelerator, could that be a potential pathway, or could it not because it's been built on the F&E data model that you mentioned earlier?
So Evo 365 actually predates fundraising and engagement. It was built not long before the initial data model came out, but it was beforehand. So actually, it never got built on fundraising engagement. We considered it a few times, and then ultimately took the decision to keep it kind of in-house so that we weren't exposed if anything should happen. So from that point of view, it's not affected by this at all. But it does put it in a very good position to be an alternative. So if someone does find themselves using a large portion of the F&E data model and functionality that they need to move off of, then Evo certainly can move in and help that. Or if people are just a little bit wary now, then again, it's a really good option. It has data models, it has the business logic layers, it has integrations with payment providers, everything that an organization needs.